He said the law enforcement at Heathrow Airport told him that they would let him go if he were to pay a fee. He needs to pay them off so he doesn't get in trouble and doesn't go on record. I told him, well then just pay him off. Let's get this over with, get you on a flight home. This is ridiculous. He started screaming and crying again. He called me again and again, saying he doesn't know what to do. They want the money or they're going to throw him in jail. He'll lose his job. He'll lose everything, including me. I said, that's crazy money. That's a lot. I just paid $3,000 for the worker's family. He begged me on the phone. He said he could only talk for a short time. They were going to throw him in jail. They said they punched him in the face and they were being nasty and told him he needs to call the embassy. I told him, call the embassy. He said no. Again, his work would find out and he'd lose everything. He was begging me again and crying. I didn't know what to do. So I finally told him I would try and help him. I told him I'd try to get the money somehow. Maybe I can take out a loan. He said it needs to be in their account right away. I was in a panic. I was sleep deprived, and I ended up going down to a payday loan place and taking out a loan. But they could only front me $1,000 from them, and it was an instant loan. Then I went to a check cash car place where you could use your car title to get cash. These loans were high interest, but I didn't care. I had to get him the money. He said he would pay me back. I told Wilson what I was doing. I said, give me some time and I'll get the money. He said okay, and to go ahead and sell my car. And I don't think he understood I was just cashing over the title until I paid the loan back. I was able to get the $5,000. However, payments on both loans and the interest rates was more than I made in 2 months' work. I told him he needs to give me that money back right away, and he promised and said he would. I told him I got $5,000. Where do you want me to send it? He wanted me to do a bank transfer to the law enforcement agency agent. He told me what I needed to do, that it was a bribe. I told him I'll do a bank transfer, and he said no. He said I need to wire it via RIA transfer, which I've never done before and I've never heard of it. I've told him this, and I didn't know where to even do an RIA transfer. He then told me instead, just go do a bank transfer. He gave me the name of a woman who lived just outside of London in a small town. I went ahead and wired the money, and he said to snap a picture of the bank transfer receipt so he can show it to the airport employee and they'll let him go free. I did just that, and he told me they finally released him, but they took some of the gifts he had bought for me out of his luggage, and he felt bad. I told him, I don't care about the gifts, let's just get you home. He told me he was boarding his flight and he would be in Florida soon, and when he arrived in Florida, he sent me a message on WhatsApp stating that he'd arrived. But there was an issue, as he had to see his boss before he can get paid and sign off on the contract. His phone was running low. He was having issues, and he said he had an iPhone, but he needed a couple of iTunes gift cards to keep it running, as the company uses a special app that takes iTunes gift cards to communicate with their employees. I told him I can't do this right now, I'm at work. He told me he really needed the cards, he needed them right away. He said because of calling me, it was taking up all of his data. Well, I was flat broke. I didn't even have money for food at this point. I was working. I did the wrong thing. I have access to the register, and in the mornings there's hardly anybody at work. I took a couple of iTunes gift cards and rang them up but didn't pay for them. It was $200 worth of cards. I gave him the numbers on the back like he instructed me to do. I know when I did the bookkeeping this would come up as a loss, so I just signed in under someone else's register number so it wouldn't look like I did it. I know it was wrong, and I planned on paying the money back when I got paid. By the time we did the accounts, it would balance out okay. I sent him the cards. I didn't hear from him. I kept messaging asking him what's going on. He finally called me that night telling me that he'd been fired from his job. And he said the accident caused too much of a liability. He didn't get paid for his contract. They broke it up. He didn't know what he was going to do. He wasn't getting paid at all. I started freaking out, telling him he needs to get that money. I need the money back I paid for the workers and for the airport employee and the $200 in iTunes gift cards. He said not to worry, he'd take care of me. He said he was going to talk to a friend on the job and he can start working at a new company because he knows lots of people in the oil industry. I told him I needed that money right away. We started to have a fight and he told me not to worry, he would take care of me. He wanted to marry me, and he texted me a photo of a ring that he said it was for me. He bought it just for me. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know if he was serious, but he asked me if I would marry him, and I told him yes. I would. It's all so crazy, but I loved him. I was in love with him. He told me not to worry, not to worry. He would take care of me, and then he would ask me for my bank account information. He wanted my accounting number, routing number. He said he'll get some money. He'll help pay my loan. I told him okay. I was desperate and I needed to pay that loan and knew the payments were going to come up. He said to give him some time and he'll start paying me back in a couple of days. A few days later I got a text alert that there was a deposit made in my bank account for $3,600. I was shocked but happy. I was able to make payments on the loans, pay off one loan, and catch up on bills, and I put the $200 back from the iTunes gift cards that were missing from the register at work. I spent all $3,600 I had to catch up on bills. He asked me if I got the money in the account, and I told him yes, and I paid all my bills. He became angry. He said that was only part of it. I could only keep $1,000 of it, but the rest I was needing to send to his colleague. I told him, you didn't tell me anything about this. He was calling me a thief, saying he owes money to his friend, calling me a thief that I stole the money, and we had our first big fight. I told him he needs to come and see me. We can't continue a relationship like this. He needs to pay me back the rest that he owes me. I told him at this point, yes, I do, because I need to get this other loan paid off. A few more days went by, and he apologized. He said he was sorry. He was under a lot of stress. In fact, his words were, "I'm under great stress." And I told him it's okay. Couples have fights. I'm not greedy. I just did a lot for him, and I needed that money back to pay off that last loan. I finally told him he needs to come see me. He missed his flight from Florida to Michigan. He was having problems finding work with his connections. He couldn't get any work and finally asked me if I could get him a couple $100 in iTunes gift cards so he could keep his phone going and get contacts for a new job. By this time I wasn't thinking. I was just in love with this man and frustrated. I didn't care. I told him, yes, I'll get you some, but you need to put that money back for those gift cards. By the end of the week, we do our book balancing, and he promised me that he would go ahead and get the money back to me. So I took another $200 in iTunes gift cards from the register, someone else's sign-on, rang them up. I guess I'm afraid of being caught, and if I didn't get the money back, it would fall onto somebody else. Well, a couple days later went by and he still didn't show up. He kept canceling his flights and changing them around. I told him he was playing games and I was done with him. Just send me the money that you owe me so I can pay my loan, pay off these iTunes cards, and we're done. He cried on the phone telling me he really loved me. He fell in love with me and he doesn't want this to end. I hung up on him and refused his calls. I didn't know what to do. I was done. I was exhausted at this point. He would call me night and day. I hardly slept and it was affecting my job. I know I could have just turned off my phone, but part of me wanted to answer it. I started doing things I normally would never do. When I was doing bookkeeping at work and counting the registers, I would take $10 or $20 from the safe. I needed money for food and I hadn't eaten. I was tired and starving. He had denied me of everything. It went on and he never showed up. He said he had a job interview so he couldn't come. Then he said he would see me as soon as he could, and it carried on. Sure enough, another loan payment was due and he had no money to give me. I kept demanding money from him, and all he would say in reply to me was, "Stop demanding money. All you care about is money." Our relationship dwindled. Every once in a while, he'd send me a flower or heart and say that he's sorry I was so angry. I was falling further and further into debt, and I fell behind on my loan payment. I was unable to make the interest, and it compounded on. I told him I was in jeopardy of losing everything. He told me he didn't care. Then one night he called me. He said he was feeling very romantic and he'll get me the money, not to worry. And he asked for my login information for my bank account, including my password. He wanted to put money in there. And I told him he has my routing number and account number. He doesn't need my password. He became angry again, saying, "I don't care, I don't understand." That I was his wife. Well, we're not married yet. And he said, "I want to marry you." He said, "I have a ring for you," and he sent photos again of the ring. I couldn't stay mad at him. Through the financial issue, my house falling further and further behind in payments, and I explained that he doesn't understand what's going on. I'm going to lose everything. I'll lose my job. I'll lose everything I have. He went silent on me for a few days, saying he needed to work on things, and he would talk to me soon, And when the time came to do the bookkeeping, all the totals came out, and yes, the registers was $200 short. But the person whose number I signed into the register on ended up getting fired from her register for being that short. She couldn't explain how to show the iTunes gift cards being rung up. And my boss reviewed the videotapes, and it showed her at one point she did ring up some customer gift cards, so they just assumed that's what they were for. I didn't say a word. My work trusted me, and they never asked questions. Everything's always been right with me. So when she was fired, I felt guilty. She was a fairly new employee. I told Wilson what happened, and we started talking more and more. He said not to worry, he'll take care of everything. He then stopped talking to me for a few more days, and this is when things went bad. I wrote him a nasty message telling him how much I had loved him and how nasty he was to me. I called him every name in the book, and that's when he messaged me back and said he had something to tell me. I said what, and I again reiterated, I need my money back. He confessed to me that he wasn't Wilson. And I said, what do you mean? He asked me if we could chat, and I told him of course. I wanted to know what was going on. He called me on the phone saying he was sorry. He was crying and said he really fell in love with me, and I told him, well, what are you? Who are you? What's happening? He said his name was Michael, and that he was 32 years old and lives in Nigeria. He said in the beginning he was just trying to scam me out of some gift cards or cash, but as time went on, he said he really fell in love with me. I sat there dumbfounded, not knowing what to do or say, or what to think. He said he's never felt this way about someone before, and he thought that I wouldn't like him because of where he's from. I told him I was upset because he lied, not because of where he's from or what he looks like. None of that ever mattered to me. He was crying on the phone, saying he didn't want to lose my love, and that I really, really, really loved him. I'm still dumbfounded. I'm still worried. I don't know who this person is. I said, you're so sweet to me, and he said everything that he had to say. He said what he did was out of love, not scamming. He said that I really didn't know him, but that he really fell for me. And what I heard in his voice, I somehow started to think that he was being legit. I told him that he needed to send me a friend request as himself, and we needed to get to know each other better. And much to my surprise, he was already on my friends list, and apparently he'd been on it for quite a long time. He said he fell in love with me months before he created Wilson, and he said he only did it to try and get money, but that he fell for me. I started to believe him. He promised he would stop doing what he was doing, but after a few days I told him, well, we can get to know each other more. He started asking me again for my bank login information, and then he sent some codes for Facebook to my phone wanting me to log into Facebook and give him the codes. He was trying to open several accounts using the codes and sending them to my phone using my phone number. I started seeing transactions drop into my account that weren't good. I didn't know who the people were. He told me keep some of the money and send it forward to him. This is why I told him he's never going to change, and I come to the realization that a criminal is a criminal. I ended up feeling so guilty about everything that was happening. I contacted my bank and told them what was going on with my account. I went ahead and transferred the money back to whoever it came from, and I told Michael, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be a part of your world. He called me every name in the book. He was angry. He was angry that I closed my bank account. He said he was going to try and transfer money back and forth. I told him no. I said we need to stop this, and I ended up blocking him. He came back several times with several fake profiles and accounts, and that's when I knew he had many accounts with many women on the hook. I ended up not being able to pay my one loan back, and I ended up having my debts go into collections. It ruined my credit, and I can't get anywhere, at least financially. The guilt killed me, though. I felt so bad about the person who got fired from their job that I went to my corporate boss and told him what happened. I confessed to him what had really happened, and that I did take the $200 in gift cards. They ended up firing me. I'm not sure what happened to the girl that got fired because of me, and I don't want to know if she's back or not. I stopped going to that store altogether. I'm so ashamed. There's rumors going on about me. I've even had some old co-workers tell me at this point they've lost all trust I've ever had in me. I've lost my job at my own hands. I think Michael probably confesses to many women and uses people for financial gain. I was an idiot. I admit that. A lot of people on this channel will sit there and call me names, and that's fine. You've never been in my situation. I wasn't thinking clearly, and I felt like I've paid my price for it. So please don't be too harsh, because yes, I do read comments here on this channel, and that's my story. We'd like to thank this lady for telling her story. Sometimes things go wrong. Sometimes scammers cause victims to be sleep deprived, they're not thinking clearly, or they would do things they normally wouldn't do. So as the lady said, please don't be too harsh on people. Be kind, because you don't know what they're dealing with in their life. If you'd like to share your story of an encounter you had with a scammer, whether you lost money or not, you can find us on Facebook under the page Scamming Scammers Action, or drop us an email, scammingscammers@gmail.com. We will verify your story, narrate it into a video. You can stay as anonymous as you'd like to keep yourself safe. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay safe.